Hello, greetings, engineers. Today we'll be getting a new start on a new server and walking through the entirety of the tech tree as we unlock it and begin our survival series. Let's get going in a drop pod. On the public servers, you might note that there is no experimental mode, which means there are no scripts, are no mods, and there are no inertial tensors. Let's get out and get our toolbar started up here. We'll nix all these guys off. We'll need them, but not presently. We'll get ourselves set up with some simple blocks going in. We don't want the heavy stuff. I'll just put my normal things in and around. And my pillar will get me that first page pretty much well set out. And we can flip over to the second page. And actually, we don't have access to a lot of blocks. Starting on a new server here, we don't have anything in the tech tree, so we'll have to unlock that as we go. And we can start off by tearing down bits of our pod as we go through and unlock various blocks. So with that said, let's whip out that grinder and start having at it. I'm going to cut off a lot of this excess stuff here. I'll need all this steel plate for later, but right now it's just going to serve us in our building purposes because we will need it to unlock our tech tree and change up what we have on our pod. We don't have any control blocks on here, so there's no cockpit at the moment. And that's actually going to be a kind of pricey endeavor. So we are going to go for a remote control initially. And with that remote control, we'll be able to unlock additional things such as these atmospheric thrusters that are on the pod. If I take down the atmospheric thrusters now, I will not be able to rebuild them because I do not have that technology unlocked. But I can get there very shortly. I just want to knock down some of this extra cladding around the pod. We can use it for later. Hopefully that streaming will go away eventually. One can only hope, but given the issues I've been having connecting today, I doubt so very much. In every drop pod we have a chair, and in every chair we're going to have ourselves a weapon, a magazine, and an initial data pad that has a nearby trade station. I don't need that currently, but it is good to know what's in there, so you can access something that is nearby. Our first little bit on unlocking our progression tree will be down near the bottom to get our landing gear so we can get additional seats, like rebuilding the seat that we just currently had, and that'll also give us access to various control blocks, namely that remote control, which we will need in order to get thrusters and weapons later on. So let's get this ground down. We just need to get it past that functional level, and then we can weld it back up. And there we go, we've unlocked new technology. I'm going to go ahead and knock this down for this present build. Thrust, I won't need that particular landing gear. With some more of this taken back, I can get a little more access into my pod. This timer block has computers which I will need, as does this beacon. Those can go. I don't need the parachute block. That can go. And I can knock out a good deal of this upper area in my pod as well. Just got those last little bits of decorative pieces, and I can get the steel plate from those. In here, I can take down this cargo container and then rebuild it to unlock more technology. And then I can knock down these piping pieces to get more technology unlocked. So now I've got cargo containers and I've got these conveyor tubes unlocked. I'm actually going to take this conveyor tube here and put it where the other one was. With this technology unlocked, I can actually start putting pieces into my bars down here. I'm going to put these small conveyors in. Going to be collectors for my connectors, conveyors for my ports, and then I also want my cargo containers In this slot up here, I will use the small grid conveyor and place that like so and weld it up. I'm placing this one specifically in this location because I intend to put a cockpit in this location, in which case this specific port will come through into the cockpit. I don't care about this bottom area for right now, so I went ahead and removed the rest of that infrastructure that was in here. So that's all gone. And my H2O2 generator is actually still connected to my survival kit by going up through this conveyor and back in through this junction here. I can come off to the side and take down this generator just enough so I can rebuild it, still maintain its functionality, but unlock that additional piece of technology from it. And that way I still have access to my H2O2 generator, which I will need for oxygen, and then I will get topped off on my energy at the same time here. I do want to take down a little bit more to this pod. I want to knock out this back landing gear. I will not need it for what I'm going to be doing. And I can actually get rid of the antenna as well. I will be sitting in this while I'm flying it. So I don't need the antenna per se. That looks like I am full of items, so I can deposit excess into the survival kit and then keep what I need on me. We'll also pull out just a little bit more here, because this is where I'm going to want to place a gyroscope. We've taken down a landing gear and rebuilt it so that we have access to wheels. Wheels won't be good for me presently, not until I get that remote control going. And once I get the remote control up and running, I'll be able to put drills in. So this is going to be multiple steps that we're doing here in order to get our drop pod wheels and turn it into a bit of a rover. We're going to need to use some thruster overrides to get it off the ice and onto some stone for our first bit of processing. We can go into our build blocks. We'll pull off that remote control that we'll need briefly here. And we can put it in place. It says that we'll need the interior plate. I can grab some of that from our seat and place it here. Usually when you're doing these beginning steps, you are short on supplies, so if you really need the one extra interior plate, you can scrape it back down. I can do just that. There. And then I will drop that interior plate, and then I should be able to weld this back up so it is functional. Picking up my interior plate, come back and put in a seat. I use this big seats overlay and actually scroll through the mouse and just pick out that passenger seat that we had started with. This is actually going to take 10 more interior plates, so I'll grab those guys off. That's a lot of server lag there. And then just rebuild the passenger seat. Once it's rebuilt there, I do want to take these 10 plates back. Really, all I want is I'm gonna server splice you guys. There we go. I wanted 4 in there, so I want 16. Drop. There we go. Now we got 10, and I'll take the rest back into my inventory. So now I've got the seat with just enough in there. If you wanted to split stacks in your inventory, you can hover over what you want, do a right click and drag into another open slot, and then it'll give you the amount to split into this new stack. You can choose any amount you want. Let's say if we chose 10, I would end up with a stack of 10 and a stack of 6. Doing a left click and dragging, I can combine stacks together so that I have the one stack of 16. Having multiple stacks in there doesn't really matter. It's just visual organization, but at the same time, it's still nice to have how we want it. With our remote control in place and seat back in, we can go and take a look at our build progression here. Pressing G will get us up to our blocks menu, and we can click to the progression tab. Scroll back down to the bottom where we saw our landing gear. We had unlocked our passenger seat, which we have just rebuilt. We've got a remote control behind that passenger seat so we can pilot the vehicle. And now what we can also do is use atmospheric thrusters again. Really, we can use all of these thrusters, but I just wanted the atmospherics because that is what is on our craft. Also important to put on our craft is going to be a gyroscope. So I will build the gyroscope and take down some thrusters so I can get large steel tubes from those. And I also want to get some wheels going on this, and we will execute on those steps next. Go to our bar and we can get our gyroscope. And we can also get wheels. And while we're at it, let's also get our thrusters. There we go. We'll place our gyroscope first. Putting it back here by that battery is somewhere it's going to last a while, and I'm okay with that. I'll take down one of these thrusters for its components, and then begin building the gyroscope. There are a couple of items that I should already have. It's just a matter of pulling those out of that survival kit back in. Now I've got a gyroscope on here. I can potentially manipulate the craft, but it's not really what I want to do yet. I could fly this just by tilting it in the right direction and using the rest of these atmospheric thrusters to move it around, but I don't want to fly at the moment. I want this to roll. So in order to do so, I'm going to have a couple of fighter cockpits extend off the front to angle the pod down, and I will put in some wheels in the back. So let's get that going. Come over and I will get my cockpits. And then I will use the fighter cockpit. I'm using the fighter cockpit because it uses construction components, and this is also very heavy. So it takes something that's fairly light and makes it substantially heavier. And by extending a row off here, this pod should tilt down once I release that landing gear. So let's do so. By accessing the pod, I can access these landing gears. I will make them all visible, and then I will unlock. There we go, unlock and turn off auto lock. And now my pod should have tilted forward far enough for me to get under it. Take off another one, we should get a little bit more angle, and that should actually be plenty for us to work with here. I'll go back in and make my landing gear lock back to the ground. We can see that the green down there, and that means our ship is now locked to the ground, and I don't need either of these fighter cockpits to keep it in place. On the back side over here, turn on my lights so we get a little more visibility, and I'll pull out that fat stack of steel plates that we've got. I can also come in here and let's take this guy down. We'll just get a little more space for ourselves. Or we could just mess ourselves up there. There we go. We'll pull out a couple of blocks coming this way. 3 should do it to give us enough clearance. And then we can extend a row of blocks towards the rear here. I'll pick up these extra plates so that they don't despawn. So 3 blocks out, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Let's go 12 there. That should be good enough, and just for some stability, I can come across and put excess plates in. That should make it just that much easier to build out and back. 1, 2, 3, and coming back all the way to our 12. I really don't have that many excess steel plates to work with, but I'm just putting them in there so that we can have a place for them. That way I'm not filling up my inventory with things I don't need at the moment. I'm also going to want to put wheels on here. That's why we built this area sticking out like we did. And we can put some wheels back here. And we'll put our left and right suspensions in here on the left side. 3x3. 3x3 should be good, and we actually have new wheels now. So not only are we going to do the 3x3, we'll put it on the short suspension. That way the wheels should take up that much less space going through. That is a 1. We don't want that. I think that looks right, so we will do short 3x3. That's probably exactly wrong. Let's take a closer look over here. Arrows, forward, back, that doesn't help. I don't see anything else that really helps. That picture's so hard to see too. Maybe that looks a little more right? Yeah. So it's going to curve down. We'll do that. That should be good enough. Oh, we'll just adjust the cart as necessary because we're going to have to do that anyways. 3x3 left, 3x3 right, left, right. We want right short, short 3x3. And we'll make it point down again. So these are well off the ground, and that's good for us getting some good clearance. It doesn't look like it's going to be enough. Let's make 5s. Short left, 5x5. We'll place you down. Will you place a wheel there? That'll get us some good clearance. And then on the right side, we'll also go short wheel, 5x5. Curve side down. And place you there. That'll get us a fair amount of extension and coverage on those wheels. And if we do the unlock, the vehicle should tilt back in that direction. Go to our landing gear. Unlock. And now let's see if we can't get our gyro to help us out just a little bit. I'm going to make these landing gear a group. And I will select my remote control so I can control this craft. And in doing so, I can twist this left and right. Doesn't help me yet. I do want these groups. Landing gear here. And I can switch lock whenever it's ready if I can get it to hold. And I can go and put in my gyro. I do want to override. We'll see which way this is going just based upon our spin. Slowly increment the gyro. Try to get our nose up just a wee bit. Looks like we're tilting the wrong way. We can drop back that down to 0. We do not want a yaw. See if we give ourselves a positive pitch. There we go. Actually, we'll leave it just like that. Maybe if we can get it a skosh higher. Maybe just a skosh higher. Let's see. Playing with fire at the moment. 42, 51. 44, can you hold? 43, I'll take that. And drop out. See if we can do this fast enough. I probably should have prepped this by taking down a little bit on the side. There we go. And 1, 2, 3. And we can extend our wheels out just a bit. And here as well. We'll take down this guy. There we go. 6 and 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And we actually put those wheels towards the front. We'll do the same thing here. We'll take our left wheel suspension, 5x5, put you there, and we got the whole wheel under. And the same over there. Excellent. We are getting away with murder at the moment, so I'm going to go back and turn that gyro override off. Back down to 0 and uncheck that guy. And actually just do shift and do the right click on there, and that'll reset it back down to 0. Turn that override off so we're not override that gyro anymore, and we should be good to go as far as having our wheels in place. Now those wheels will not power our craft just yet. We're still going to need to use our gyro to turn, and we're going to need these thrusters to make us go. Since we did build a control module, namely that remote control that we just used a moment ago, we can take down another one of these thrusters and use that for ocean. I'll take this thruster, I'll put you up front here, and then begin to rebuild you. Make sure I collect all these items off the floor and put them back into my thruster. There we are. I also want to come into the back here, and we want to put a cargo container. Make sure I've got the materials for it. Starting off with that interior plate, come in the back and put down a cargo container. Just this medium one should be good to start us off with. And we will also want to come off of here and put a drill. And that way, once we get on top of the dirt, we can actually use the height offset of our vehicle to put that drill into the ground and allow us to start collecting some stone. That way we're not doing any digging, and I like it like that. Pull our materials out. Let's see here. We'll clear this first. I don't have all the materials I need on hand, and if I do a right click with the welder out, we'll add components to my build planner. It says that I need some computers and some interior plate. If I have those in the available cargo access, I can middle mouse button and try to withdraw those items, but it says I do not have them on hand. And I can see that I do not have any interior plate in my inventory because none was withdrawn. And I can see that I don't have any in this survival kit either. What I can do is take them from the seat that I have up front, and that should get me up to the build lines that I need. I actually only need the 4 for this base on that cargo container, and then 3 computers, and that should be it. So for computers, I can actually come up here, and my ore detector should have 1. I'll take that. And I've got some computers in here, my H2O2 generator, and I've got some computers in that survival kit, but unfortunately I will need that survival kit online in order to do anything with it. So I'll take them from that H2O2 generator once I get a little bit closer. And also come in here and put a drill. Rather, I'll take the grinder just because we've got the multiple uses of that tool collapsed in. So our drill is going to have to go here, and we don't have the offset for it. So let's just get onto the stone first before we meddle with that. We'll come back around into our seat. Let's get into the seat, and we'll take control using our remote control. And we'll set control. From this remote control too, we can also drop down our remote control to use the parking brake, park on off, handbrake. There we go. I can still manipulate anything else I need here as if I were in an actual cockpit. So if I rotate around this way, I'm spinning on my lack of wheels. Do I want to go up? Let's turn all the way around, just using that gyro to manipulate us. And this looks to be a bit easier. And I'll press forward, and that'll allow that one thruster to give me an override. I don't actually have anything to do with steering at the moment because none of these wheels are built. I'll just use the gyro override to get me towards something more suitable. Once I get my way off of this lake, I can get to some stone. Then I'll be better off on my start. Come through here. gyro override for that steer. And this will be a little more flat for us to work on. We'll get to be level. And it looks like we are entering into a dust storm. Not the best, but at least we're out. I'll go ahead and put that parking brake on, and then we can hop out of our control and our seat, because now we're on solid ground. From up here, this is where I will want to manipulate the craft in order to get my drill in place. So I can come in here, grab all of my wheels, and let's make their suspension offset as high as possible. And I can increase their strength just a skosh to get this as high off the ground as I need to. We can try to place a drill again and see if we are going to make it. Number 8 is not going to allow us in here. And let's see if we can see. We cannot. So what I can do is just do a bit of drilling down here. I'm not going to collect this. I just needed to make a hole to place the drill. That should be more than enough to place the drill. And that should be our placement towards the center of the cargo container. We can build this guy up. And what we don't have on hand, again, we can try to withdraw from our cargo container. That is where we were stashing the rest of our items. It says we're going to need 2 more large steel tubes, and I have those in the form of these atmospheric thrusters. Well, I will take that. And this one. And you were wanting a computer, and you were wanting 2 computers. Okay, so you've got 2 computers. Let's grab you. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. You're online. 1, 2, 3. And then you need a couple of interior plates. And I will set my survival kit to produce some ingots. And I want those computers back online. Ingots. Go ahead and build me those as well. Since I'm taking down my seat, I won't be able to do anything with that. But what I will be able to do is still control this craft by using the accesses from this port up here. So I'm going to knock down the last 4 plates that I need. Place them in here. And that should complete the connection from the drill to the cargo container, and from the cargo container onto my craft. And I can control this craft through here. I'll drop my wheels down just a bit, not necessarily in strength, but with their height offset. That way we can get a little bit deeper. We can turn that drill on, and it should be pumping stone into our survival kit, which is exactly what we want. And then we can take our thruster, which is our last remaining thruster, and give it a very small override. I just want it to be enough for it to start pushing forward. And while it's doing that, I can also tell this to build me a few more plates. That way I can rebuild my chair. And I'll have a little more control and visibility of what's going on once I get that set up. We'll take those off. Just want this chair up. There we go. And I also wanted those computers. So let's go back into here. Take those computers that we told it to build. Survival kit. I didn't tell you computers. Told you the wrong thing, didn't I? Always do. Production. Build me computers, please. Inventory, computers, and we can come right back out here into my H2O2 generator for those computers. Now I'm back into a safe place here, safe-ish at least. So none of this is actually welded up, which is pretty dangerous, and I can knock that out while I tell this to go forward and drill for me. So now we've got our rover moving forward, collecting plenty of stone for us, which will fill our cargo container. And with our cargo container filling, it will have an ample supply for our survival kit to be building ingots. And while it's building ingots, I need it to do the next step for us, which is going to be setting up some large grid apparatus. In order to continue our progression down the tech tree, we're actually going to need to unlock some additional items. So if we go back into our G menu, hop into our progression, we're going to want to unlock that basic assembler, which we can just plop down, but in order to power it, we're going to want to use some wind turbines. And we already have that unlocked here, and they are all stacked under the solar panel tab. But we know here in the wind turbines, we're going to need a bunch of items. Are you going to show me? I don't know why are you doing this? You're not going to let me stack them this way. They used to let me stack them this way. We'll have to drop down some large grid apparatus. We're going to put down a couple of wind turbines to get us a basic assembler to get access to some of these other items here. So let's start by dropping some of this in our production queue. Go over to our bar and we can get some turbines, which is the only one we really care for. Wind turbine, we can replace our thruster there. And with our wind turbine, put a couple of you in our queue. Will you let me put it in the queue? You will not. Wow. That's broken. That is really weird. You're not letting me do that. Okay, well, that's neat. I know I need interior plates, motors, construction components, and girders. Will you let me put them in through here? There we go. Now they should be added to the build planner. At least one of them is. 2, 3. Okay. Well, that should add them to the build planner, which will start the survival kit working on their production. There we go. I don't need that many. I can actually cancel out those ones and that. And then we'll move you down there. While I'm working this too, I also want that basic assembler to be built. And with that basic assembler in hand, and tell it you to queue as well. Basic assembler is now queuing. And it looks like I need more forward thrust override. Just enough to keep going. There we go. Now I got my trench going. It's going to be a little awkward until I get these wheels and the wheel suspension all built. But I can't build the large steel tubes necessary for these until I get the assembler built. And having the assembler won't help unless I keep it properly powered. That should unlock hinges for me. And with hinges built, I can actually put everything I need on the back of this rover and begin to drive it around. I don't want to build up too much at the moment, not before I get a base of operations established with this little bit of rover I've got, and that way I can actually stay mobile that much longer. Ooh, are we stuck in the ground actually? We are. That's no bueno. Okay. What else are we dragging on? We're just heavy and in the ground, and these wheels are not far enough apart for that to be trenched in, so I did a boo-boo. I thought these 5x5s were out enough, but apparently not. Not with the short stack that I have done. That's okay. We can somewhat fix that. Let's start by knocking this guy down. And leave that remote control. He's okay. I do want to change you into a proper cockpit. Oddly enough, I don't have any of the materials necessary for it. Production. Let's get some steel plate necessary. Two will do for the start. Drop my cockpit in, and I can weld and withdraw everything else necessary. It'll give me another point to access my cargo as well. More computers and displays, 5 and 5. Five and 5 and 5. Build you guys. How much desync do we have going on here? You're full of stone. Cargo container, drill, survival kit. Survival kit's full of stuff. Now you can pull, now you can build, now you can build, now you can pull. There we go. Needed to work that loose. Once I get me 5 displays and 5 computers, 5 and 5. There we go. I'll hop out of here. Get this cockpit going, and now I don't have to worry about manual control from that remote control anymore. I can also refill my hydrogen and oxygen from here as well. Doesn't look like this thruster's really going to be doing it for me much longer, but I shouldn't need too much more from it. I do need to take down that little back support bar and get my little power generation system up and going. We'll see how much more I can get out of this, but looks like I might be going uphill, so if I can get this rotated, we'll see how responsive it is. Looks like we are pretty well getting a desync here. Well, we'll just move to the next phase then. Get to inventories, all my inventories. I want from you interior plates, steel plates, girders, and I will be back for more. I'll come over here just to make it easier for myself. If I use the interior walls, these are actually cheaper than a steel plate. So I will use this, and I should have enough on me to build it up, and I'll have access to ladders and ramps and more. We get some construction components. There we go, and now we've completed that. We've got more blocks unlocked. Don't actually need this whole thing welded up. I just needed that for the tech. We'll come back out here, place our block, And if we go to our other page, we can get ramps and ladders. I believe the ladder has the stacked items, and it does. Let's go in. We can replace you. We don't need the ladder necessarily. What we do want is stairs or the ramp for it. Either one should do us just nicely, but it is one interior plate for a large standing item. We can just fly and place a few of these guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Place some spires out, and this should be more than enough for some wind turbines for us. A couple of these in the build planner. Then we'll withdraw the parts for them. If you were on a planet with too much gravity and not access to any ice to turn into readily available hydrogen, you could use those ramps to build your way up here. But since we aren't in such a dire need, I will take what I've got and make it a little easier on myself. Now we've got a little powered spire for ourselves. We can check out that tech tree one more time, see our progression. We can scroll down and find that we've got some pistons and hinges unlocked. These are going to be available to us because down here they were available under the construction of our powered objects. Now we can build hinges, and with that hinge built, we can attach it to our vehicle very carefully, and we can get our assembler on there. We come up and over, attach a basic assembler here. Put some items into it, and we should have a fair amount more. We're just missing steel plate, a handful of computers. Now we're on production. Let's get some computers going for it. And then that steel plate. And once we get these last bits in here, we will have ourselves an assembler, and that assembler will give us large steel tubes, which we can put into our wheels and suspensions. 80 there, and we're just waiting on those plates. Let's go ahead and elevate ourselves a bit. Maybe that was a bit too much. Server is laggy for sure. Fix that height offset. Strength is going to be enough for us. But it looks like we still are scraping the ground there. That'll be fine. We don't need that final 20 up top. We just need enough to make it to the functional line. And we've got that completed with those 80 computers there. It's just a matter of welding it up. And now we've built that assembler and unlocked some more blocks. With this assembler in hand, we can actually attach it to our vehicle over there, or we could keep this as a base. I'm not ready to establish a base yet. I want to keep building off of this rover for a bit more. So I can work on getting tubes built for you guys. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1, 2, 3, 4. On that suspension. Build queue in hand. I can tell the assembler to do it, but I will need all of my ingots from here. I can take these into my production, take out my materials, and I can dump those into this basic assembler. I can also put in these extra bits which have been sitting in my inventory. Take those guys out of my inventory. I will more than likely need some more stone. I don't want to slide too much on that drill. It's not going to break, but there we go. Try to rock myself around. Just don't want to mess up the area immediately in front of where I have that assembler set up. And I can start that drill setting in there. And then I can drop my wheel suspensions. Let's drop my suspension. There we go. Should give us a nice deep bite with that drill. I can just pulse that guy going forward. That way I'm making some more collections. And I can also check out my assembler. See, my assembler has been working for me here. I'll take these tubes, components, and I can run them around to the various parts of my vehicle. I'll take out what I've got in ingots here. And drop them in my assembler. Whatever you make for me is what I will use. What are we tooting for production? I want these steel tubes out front, please. Because I can't make tubes anywhere else. There we go. Tubes in hand. I'll take some of these and these. I'll run around. Because with these in hand, I'll be able to drive my vehicle much more effectively than just doing a little override with a single thruster. Having those wheels on is going to help me turn and power this craft much more effectively. Now I've got a couple of my wheels going. I can drop their height offset even lower, get a bigger bite into that drill, and I really shouldn't have to worry too much about them skittering around anymore now that I've got those going. Turn off that atmospheric thruster. He's no longer needed. I've got wheel power to move me around. I'll keep driving this down just a bit longer. See, I didn't have to go too far to get the stone necessary, but I didn't have to do it by hand. I had to use a little bit of engineering for it, and that's what I would rather do. Just a bit of engineering to get my problem solved. Saves a lot more on that early game, much better than having to hand drill everything. Give me a second to get these ingots flowing, and I'll be back with some wheels. We're in the middle of a storm. How much am I getting off of these? Maximum. I should get normally about 300 or so, somewhere around there for that height. In the storm, I would expect double. But I'm getting 500 off of them, which is more than enough to run that assembler, and that's all that's running off there at the moment. That's all I really care about. Alright, with a functional cockpit and wheels, we can finally say we have ourselves a rover. Next thing I'm going to do is wheel myself around to that basic assembler and get ourselves set up with a hinge so that we can do a small grid to large grid conversion. But that'll have to wait until next time. Until then, go forth and build great things. See you then. I'm only driving on 2 wheels at a time anyways.